Okay, Aran, in this video, we're going to look at one of your recent games played on the 3rd of March 2024. Your rating was 1091 and your opponent was 1392. And of course, normally you get paired against an opponent of the same strength or the same rating. But it was an unrated game, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I wanted to take my skills and see how I do. So let's see how I did.
So I need to fix one thing here.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see how you did. So much stronger opponent, although I'm sure very soon you'll be at that rating level of 1400 as well. You were black. Your opponent opened with the e-pawn. You always answer in a classical way. Knight c3 and knight f6. Knights develop and f4. That is not a very common move. It has a similarity to, it's a variation of the King's Gambit, as we call it. I checked the database, what do the grandmasters play here, or the strong players. Your move, taking the pawn, is the third most popular option. The most popular option is d5. Well, we understand that move, striking in the center.
Yes.
And d6, a bit more modest, but also a very playable move. And the third possible option is e takes f4, like you did. You win a pawn, but you give the center to white, and that's the whole point of that gambit of white's King's Gambit, is giving material for control in the center. He played e5. Well, of course, he gives a pawn, so he has to get something in return. And you can, play the knight away, play the knight back. That's the only option. But you decide to play queen e7, pinning the pawn, making sure he cannot take your knight.
Yeah, but I blocked the bishop on f8.
Yeah, that's a drawback. And of course, it's not surprising that you're in a little bit of difficulty because you want a pawn. You decided to take a pawn. And of course, white gets some play for that. So, you have people who like to grab pawns and then they'll just defend it and there'll be a pawn up then in the end game if it goes well. Other people say, well, I prefer to give up a pawn and then get some activity for it. But
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the best move here is queen e2 for breaking the pin, and now you really have to play your knight away. And the knight, the only safe square, what's the only safe square for the knight here?
g8.
Exactly, you have to go back, and that's on developing your pieces. We don't want to do that, so that's a little success for white. Yes, he's a pawn down, but he has really a lot of advantage, in development. He didn't play queen e2, he played d4, also understandable. He gives up the center, you gave up the center for a pawn, so he's making full use of that. You played knight c6, developing a piece, and he played knight f3, also developing, and you played d6. I like that move a lot. It's attacking the center, he has full control of the center. Well, we don't want to give up the center without a fight. We want to fight for it. Yes, we only have one pawn in the center and he has two, but we want to fight for it. Otherwise, we won't win any games. So d6 is a nice move, very nice positional move.
Yeah.
Bishop c4, also understandable. And, well, understandable in one way, but at the same time, you say, thank you very much. I can, attackers versus defenders. How many times is that pawn attacked and defended?
3 and defended twice.
Yes. So we can win another pawn, and that would be 2 pawns. You took on e5, he recaptured, and now I guess you can just take with an. You have to take with the knight, not with the queen, of course.
Yep.
But taking with the knight, which you didn't do, just gives you a second pawn. I guess
I didn't do that.
He didn't do it. I guess he can win this pawn back. That pawn is a bit loose, but you still be a pawn up. You didn't do that. You played bishop g4 instead. This move, but not a bad move. You're pinning the knight, bringing a piece into the game. When you do those things, you never hear me criticize you.
I'll be honest. I didn't. These attackers versus defenders, that comes into my mind during the middle game for some reason. But now I need to know that as soon as the chessboard makes a move, the game starts from there. Anything's possible. Mm,
Yes, that is true. Yeah, that is in the opening, and especially at your level, um, you get lots of stuff for free now and then, and you might as well take it. But having said that, bishop g4 is not a bad move. It's actually a good move.
yeah.
Now you don't always have to be materialistic, because knight takes e5 would of course have been also playing with the same piece twice. So I like bishop g4.
Yeah.
He castled, and yeah, again you can take that that pawn e5.
Hold
If you
on. Is there queen to c5? A
okay, let's
double
have a look.
attack.
Let's have a look. Queen c5. It is a double attack. So
Sorry.
let's say the king plays, right?
And then I take the bishop.
And you take the bishop.
Oh, was
Yeah.
that on there?
Well,
Was that on?
that is a variation, but yes, we want a piece. But
Oh yeah, I lose a piece now.
yeah, because the queen is no longer pinning that pawn, so he can
Yeah.
win the piece back. So
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's already complicated. We have played 9 moves, and it's already a very complicated position. It's good that you saw that move, queen c5 check, but it wouldn't have won you a full piece, but still a playable move.
Yeah.
So that was in after castling. Yeah, queen c5 is a move here. But of course, you saw that the pin is now gone, so suddenly this knight is hanging. So you just solved that problem, and you played knight d7. Also fine, saving your piece. He played queen d5, this
Queen
one,
d5. Okay. What's the attacking?
and
Okay.
yeah, this is not an easy line, but queen d5 is a blunder. Well,
Are you going to move? Is it d7 to b6?
b7, b6, this one,
The knight. No, so d7 to b6.
knight to b6. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, why do you suggest that move?
Is it because can the queen? I just anytime I can take a bishop off. I've just got this stigma that if I can trade a bishop for a knight, it's a good deal.
Okay.
Maybe it's wrong.
No, it's a
I,
very it's a strong move, and also that queen c5 thing that you mentioned comes into position. I'll show you the best move in the position. Knight
yeah,
b6 is pretty
sorry.
good, but
Yeah.
bishop e6, and sorry, this one, bishop e6, this move. Um,
Okay.
Backwards moves, I might have never told you this. Backwards moves are the most difficult moves to find in chess. Our brain is not wired to see backward moves very easily. Even at the highest level, they sometimes miss backward moves. But this is very strong. It's attacking the queen, obviously, and the queen has to keep the bishop protected. So let's say queen d3, but we're still going to win a piece. And how do we do that?
You take the bishop, do
And then he
we?
takes with his queen.
Yeah. So let me see this. So take. So we're winning. We're winning a piece, are we, somewhere?
Yeah, you already saw the move, and here it's very strong.
So I'm taking the bishop. He takes back, and then am I moving the knight to b6? I've lost the line, Rick.
Yeah, no,
Apologies.
yeah, what I meant is you already saw queen c5.
Oh, okay. So take.
So you don't take on c4, you play queen c5 check.
Oh yeah, and then that adds an extra attacker.
Exactly. And that's how you pick up a piece. Yeah, you win the bishop on the next move.
Every
King
time,
h1.
every time I have one of these sessions with you, it's like science meets maths. It's madness.
Yeah.
Okay.
So queen
Right.
d5 is a terrible move because of bishop e6. Backward move, not easy to find. And you
Yeah.
have then, after the queen plays, you have queen c5 check. Yeah, and again, that f-pawn is gone for white, and that makes the king more vulnerable to checks. Okay.
So hold on. So if I play queen to c5, sorry, my black queen.
Okay, so after he plays queen d3, and then you play queen c5
Oh
check.
yeah. Okay, fair enough. Yeah, sound. Fair enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is check, so he doesn't have time to take on e6, or I don't know if that's what you meant, but
Yeah, no, I got it wrong. Sorry, no, thank you.
yeah, no,
Yeah,
well,
cool.
nice little tactic. So queen d5, bishop e6 is the strongest move. You took on f3, you didn't see the tactic. And he recaptured with the rook, keeps his pawns intact, pawn, and doesn't get his pawn shattered. And now you decided to take on e5. Now you saw that attackers versus defenders, and you win that pawn.
Good.
Good. He takes on f4. You're still a pawn up in this position. He still has some compensation because you're not developed. Your king is in the middle, and he has almost finished his development. So white still has some compensation. But here you start to play really well. One way to get out of trouble if you're a bit cramped, you're clearly cramped. This bishop is unhappy.
Wait, just bear with me. I just need to shut my door. Just 1 sec. Sorry.
No problem at all. So black is a pawn up, but he's not really happy. The king is in the middle. The bishop on f8 is an unhappy piece. All white pieces are nice if he gets his bishop in the game. Bishop on c1 and get his rook on a1 into the game, then he gets serious play for that pawn that he's down. But one way to get out of some trouble that it looks you're in is by swapping off pieces. And that's exactly what you do here. And that is very strong play. You took on c4. He took with the queen. And there is your queen c5 move again, getting the queens off the board.
Yeah.
It's check, king h1, and you swap the queens. And you castled queenside. And suddenly, this bishop is a lot happier. Your king has found a way. You're still a pawn up. And you got out of this tricky situation by swapping a few of white's very active pieces off for a few of your more passive pieces.
Can I just go back a bit? Can we just see that play again, please?
Yeah, so this is the position he has taken on f4 here. Rook takes f4, and I was pointing out that you're lagging behind in development.
I'll be honest with you. I thought because he's 1300, not that I felt inferior, but I felt just get the queens off, be confident in your play, and it's a more even, not even game, but the queen is such a strong piece. If I get that out of the way, it limits his arsenal, and I just thought, let's go from there. That's what I thought, really.
Yeah, well, it's similar to what I just said. Maybe you didn't recognize that you were in a bit of trouble, with your development, but the result is the same. You
Yeah.
in a few moves that strong queen on d5, that strong bishop on c4 are off the board, and also when you're ahead of material, it's good to swap off material, swap off pieces. You're pawn up, so if you take all the pieces away, then black has an extra pawn and a king and pawn endgame and probably a winning position. So
Yeah,
it all
brilliant.
makes sense.
Yeah, thank you.
So it's good play. Maybe you didn't.
Yeah, can we just sorry, yeah, just comment on the play again. Sorry. So I did the check. No, I took the bishop. He took back. I did the check. He obviously moved out of the way with the king, and then I took the queen with my queen, and he took back. Good play.
And you castled queen side.
Yeah.
So you've solved your problems. You're really a pawn up now, and you've swapped some of white's very aggressive and beautiful pieces. With the help of that little check that you had, queen c5, it came in a lot of variations that we looked at.
Yeah.
Okay, he played bishop f4. He develops his last. He wants to get the rook into the game as well. And you played c6 here. Yeah, of course, because he's double attacking c7. That is that will be a disaster if he can crash in on c7. So a way to deal with that is play c6. It's still a strong bishop. This is an annoying piece. You would love to put the king even safer in the corner. But
But
that
can I
bishop
just
is
say, if we just go back a move, please, to the moving the pawn. Like I just said to myself, because I haven't viewed this game again. I just said, oh, can I move bishop f8 to d6 and then trade? Ah, no, I can't because the pawn can't take back because it's pinned on c7 by the rook. Like I thought that straight away. Again, just I'm happy with sort of what I'm picking up.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, the threat is clearly white taking on c7,
Yeah,
and c6 is really the best move here. But that makes that you have to play it, but at the same time it makes that bishop really strong, and that is a bit annoying. Your king is a little bit unhappy with that bishop taking that b8 square away and the c7 square. But you had no choice. You had to play up the c pawn. Knight b5, bringing another attacker closer to your king, and of course your pawn is pinned. And he's attacking the a7 pawn. So he still has some tricks up his sleeve, some compensation for the pawn that he's down. And here you played knight b6.
yep.
He's given the pawn back. You know, he can take on a7 with check if he wants and forcing the
Oh,
king into the open. He didn't do it. But here you have a very instructive move. Instead of playing knight b6,
a6.
a6 I did not look at. I know what you mean. It's kicking the knight
Okay.
back. But there's a little problem with it because white has a very nice move now.
Giving me check with a knight to a7. What we looked at? Is that the move?
And what do you play then?
Oh, is it checkmate?
Let's checkmate with bishop and knight.
Oh
Yeah,
man.
yeah. So and that is a threat anyway. You know, after knight b5, he's threatening knight takes a7 checkmate.
So the check was on then, Rick.
Well, not after knight b6 because that gives your king a square.
Oh yes, d7. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's he didn't take on a7, but that would have been a good move, forcing your king into the open. But instead of knight b6, you have a very instructive move. I'll let you see if you can find it. Combining development with defending against the checkmate.
Bishop to d6.
And after bishop takes d6, what do you do then?
I do knight to b6.
Okay, you realize that you just gave away a full piece, yeah?
Yeah. And then if I do, yeah, then surely I win a piece. No, because he can move the rook to d4 then. And then I've lost a piece.
Rook d4, you can take the knight.
Oh yeah, take the
So
knight. Oh yeah.
but he
What I
can
was
go
trying to
some.
do is I was trying to develop and then create a bigger threat and then win the bishop back.
Yeah, but how do you win the bishop back? If he plays, for example, rook c3, saving his rook, how do you win the? You just gave away a piece, and how do you
Oh
get it
yeah.
back?
But then the knight's defending the bishop.
Yeah,
Uh, I
yeah,
can't. Fair enough. That's one
yeah.
line that I thought I could pull off.
Okay. The move I'm talking about is bishop c5. Defending against checkmate because a7 is protected. Um, the
Okay, yeah.
knight, the knight is now hanging on b5 because the c pawn is no longer pinned, and you have brought your undeveloped bishop into the game. Beautiful move, bishop c5.
And look at that lovely open file for e8 rook from
Exactly.
h.
And everybody will be at the party.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. So that's not an easy move to find. But that is because black is in a bit of trouble. You know that the checkmate threat is looming. You might not have seen it in the game, but it's he's lucky to have bishop c5, but it does work. It does work tactically.
Hmm.
Okay, you played knight b6, and he could have taken on a7, but he would check. But he saw that his rook is attacked, so he first played the rook back on the c file, so that the c pawn is still pinned. It cannot take your knight. You cannot take his knight. And you played knight d5, attacking the rook again. And now he decided to win the pawn back, forcing your king into the open.
Yeah.
It's good that there's no queens left on the board, because if there's queens, then the king will be really unhappy on d7.
Yeah.
With reduced materials, not so bad. His rook is still hanging, and he played rook d3, pinning your knight.
Oh.
And there might be moves like c4, attacking the pinned piece, but you played a very nice one, bishop d6, unpinning your knight, developing your bishop, and attacking his bishop on f4. Multi-purpose moves. But
I think
it
I
looks,
remember that.
you remember this, yeah? But it looks like it was a blunder, because he took, you have to recapture, and now c4 after all.
Oh, damn.
But, yeah, damn, but you found, maybe see if you remember, because there's a way out.
Is it rook to a8?
Rook a8, counter-attacking his knight,
Because
and the knight
I
has no
remember,
safe squares.
yeah, the reason I did that is because I remember before in my games, when my bishop is when on the, let's say, the H and the G file when they're moving the pawns and my bishop's trapped, you say, but you could have moved the pawn and attacked the knight, so it just would have been a swap. And I got,
Yeah,
oh yeah. So then I thought, well, that's what I thought. So if you want to take D5, then Rick's talking, saying you can just make a swap. A7.
yeah, the knight is trapped there. He's no. But if he could play the knight to a safe square, then he still wins a piece, because your knight on d5 is cannot be saved because of the pin. But that knight doesn't have any squares, so that knight is trapped. And have I ever talked to you about the Desperado?
No, but it sounds right up my street.
It is it's right up your street, and it is a chess term that you probably don't know yet. But this is a good
Yeah,
moment to show you that knight is a Desperado. It cannot be saved, so it's giving itself up and takes something anyway. And that's what he did. He played knight takes c6. At least he gets a pawn for his trouble, because if he just allows you to take, then it's a full piece, and now at least he gets a pawn. And
yeah,
we call that knight a Desperado.
right, okay.
Yeah, so it's a chess term. So
So it'll be a pawn up there now.
well, let's see what happens, because he also still has to win the piece back. So knight takes c6, b
Yeah,
takes d6, c takes d5, and
and
c
I
takes
took.
d5.
So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, fair enough. Against the 1300, I'll take it.
Yeah, 1392, so it's really a 1400.
Yeah.
Um,
He clearly doesn't know that I'm part of the Chess to Impress Hard Knocks Academy.
exactly, he's up against the Chess to Impress gang. How would you
Continue.
uh, judge this position? Who's better here, and why, if anybody?
I'd say White's better. I've got 2 pawn islands. I've got a single pawn, and he's got 2 that are defending each other. That's why. King's in the middle. He's king. He's rook on d3. He's better developed. Controlling the center. My h8 still at home, and a8 still at home in a way. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. When you say king in the middle, is that good or bad?
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, because it's an end game, like you say, king in the middle. Yeah, I understand. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the pawn islands, and he's on his own. Yes, defended by the king, but these two, HG, BA, it looks like they can come down at the side. I don't know. If I had to pick, okay, black's better then.
No, but the pawn islands are the same. You both have 2 pawn islands, right? Of course, it's better to have pawns together, in theory, but your king is a lot more active. White would love to have his king there somewhere, but that will take him 3 moves to get there.
Yeah,
It's roughly equal. I just wanted what you, but it's not easy. This, people, a lot of people think, oh, this endgame must be easy. So many pieces are off the board, but this is actually a very complicated endgame with passed pawns. He has 2 connected passed pawns on an A and B file. You have a passed pawn on a D file. This is not easy to play. And And you don't play a lot of endgames, but as you get stronger, you will play more endgames.
Yeah, because I obviously just going off topic quickly. I did send you a game, and you said I played the end game really good. The way I pushed that passport and promoted it.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, let's
Let's see what
see.
happened in this endgame. He played a3, rook a7. Yeah, I'm not sure what rook a7 is about, Aaron. What you know? Uh,
You know what? I don't know if I was thinking of trying to get another rook behind doubling the rooks. I thought maybe I don't know.
okay, yeah, maybe if he plays b4, then yeah, okay. But
Yeah,
by the way, it doesn't spoil anything.
yeah.
Um, uh, I just wondered why you made that move. Rook ad1, and that is a threat on your pawn. So now you have to play rook a5. Really, the only move to not lose a pawn.
Yeah.
He plays b4. You have to
Oh,
keep that pawn on d5 protected. There's no harm done. Rook b5. If he now pushes a4 to kick the rook away, then he hangs his b4 pawn. Do you see that? If he plays that one,
oh,
then he hangs that
yeah.
one. So he played rook b1. Rook e8. Yes. Activate your pieces. Very important in the endgame to have all your pieces active. And all your pieces are active now. And he still has a king looking on from afar. h3. Yeah, I would activate the king. I don't know what h3 is about. 1,400 players. They're not geniuses, Aaron. They play a very weird move like h3.
Yeah.
What is that about? Uh, Almost every chess player automatically plays king g1 because he has to activate the king and not play h3. That's
I
a bit.
know, I know viewers might be watching the millions that we have. Might say, bloody hell, Aaron, get over yourself. But for me to be 1,000 and him to be 1,300, I'm quite happy with where I've got to so far, Rick.
Yeah, no, you've played a great game. Um, but he probably thought, I did not win the opening. I did not win the middle game. Let's try and win the end game. That's also one of these chess wisdom statements. Anyway,
Yeah.
f5. I like it. Let's go forward. You have an extra pawn on the king side. So let's make that count. We have to create counterplay there.
What's that? Sorry, Rick.
Uh,
The connection's gonna be.
yeah,
Hello.
can you hear me?
Yeah. What did you say? Sorry.
Oh, I said I like the move f5
Yeah.
because you have an extra pawn on the king side, and
Yes.
you have to make that you know
Yeah.
that will give you counterplay so that he cannot focus all his attention on his A and B pawn because you will distract him by pushing your own pawns on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah. He pushes a4. That makes sense. He wants to make progress with those pawns, and you have no point option. You have to retreat your rook. a5. Yes, he's going forward. It looks a bit dangerous. Rook e4 is a very nice move.
Yeah.
Double attacking this guy and activating your rook. b5 keeps going forward. You also keep going forward. Both players have played really well. The position is still in the balance. b6. And this is a crucial moment. You play now a move that loses the game very quickly while you still have an equal position here, but you have to find the right move. Let's look at this position for a minute. What are your candidate moves here?
Rook to e7, e4 to e7.
That is what you played, and it's not a good move. It was a very you had just activated the rook. Rook e4 was your pre move 2 moves ago, nice and active in the center of the board, and you play it back to a passive square where it's really not doing anything at the moment.
I just thought to help back up the rook on b8 and stop these promoting. That's
Yeah,
what I thought.
okay, but it's not really helping the rook. We'll just quickly show what happens because a6 is automatic. Um, king c6.
Yeah.
He gives a check, kicks the
Oh,
king back, and he goes. He can play a b7 here if he wants, but he is not in a b7 wins on the spot.
yeah.
But he didn't do that. He played. What did he play? Hang on. He played rook c to b3. You played king c6 again, and he came with a7. And you said this rook is helping the other rook. Well, the rook is not doing anything. It's just
Mm.
standing there. It's not really preventing anything. Rook e8, rook a8, and b7. This is what happens. And you have to give up that rook that you were trying to help. And this is how the game finished. But just while we're at it, let's see how the game finished. Rook takes b7. And he just won a rook. And he's also making a new queen. And now suddenly he's a queen and a rook up. And well, we won't show the rest of the moves. It was going to be checkmate 10 moves later. Back to where we were. So it was a crucial position. Let's look at other candidate moves. Rook e7 is not really the way to go. It's not stopping the pawns. We just saw that.
So when you like talk about like the commentary of the flow of where we are. So where are we now then? Like what's for me to I want to pick a move, but what are we trying to when you say like rooks go behind passed pawns must be pushed. Here in the end game, what quotes, pin piece is a bad defender. What quotes have we got here? Like what can I go off? Because I don't know really. Like do I play rook to e3?
To try and swap off a pair of rooks, you mean?
Yeah. And then that way, do I then try and push the D pawn? Do I then quickly rook to E8 and then 1-2, 1-2? I don't know. I'll be honest with you.
Okay, you said one of the things you said is rook behind passed pawns.
Yeah.
That is not only behind your passed pawns, rooks behind his passed pawns is also very good. That might give you a hint of
Oh, okay. Rook to A4.
rook a4 is the move here. And it's really the only move to stop those
Right.
pawns because they have really made progress. Not so long ago they were on a2 and b2. Now they're
Yeah.
on a5 and b6, and you really have to. I mean, you're okay because all your pieces are close to them, but you have to start stopping them. And rook a4 is really the only move that does that. What's the only
I,
way that he can save his a pawn?
he moved his rook to B5.
Rook b5 is the only move that saves the a pawn exactly. Yeah, that's what he had to play. Otherwise, he loses a pawn. It also stops a6 because you're still covering that square. That rook on a4 is very, very strong. And that really stops the pawns and keeps the balance. Rook endgames are very complicated, difficult. They happen a lot, rook endgames. Very often other pieces, the minor pieces and the queens get swapped because the rooks are in the corner. They join the game later than the other pieces, and that's why rook endgames are the most common endgames. And they're very difficult, especially double rook endgames when there's 4 rooks on the board instead of 2, like this one. And yeah, but here black is active enough to keep the balance and keep that A and B pawn in check.
So rook end games, I know that you say they're the most common, but is this sort of positions, well, not this exact position, but is this sort of what my future looks like as I get better, as I reach more end games, that it's going to be rook end games most likely?
Yeah, you play a lot of rook endgames as you get stronger. Yes, because you and your opponent will stop giving pieces away everywhere when you get stronger. So material will be more balanced, and you will see a lot of endgames. And as I said, the most common endgames are rook endgames. So yes, you will be. We'll have to practice endgames, which we haven't really done so far, apart
Yeah,
from
no.
Did we do king and pawn? No, we didn't. We didn't even do king and pawn versus king, did we? No.
No.
Anyway, so much stuff to cover. But anyway, this is
But that's why I
instructive.
chose this. Yeah, I knew it because I knew it ends in a rook end game, so I chose this game.
Yeah, and yeah, activity is crucial, and of course, yeah, rook a. If you just look at the difference between the moves, even if you haven't calculated it, but rook a4 is so much more active. It's
Yeah,
really doing something. It's attacking that pawn on a5, and rook e7 is not stopping those pawns. If you then, I guess, when you play rook e7, you have to really calculate what happens if he plays a6. Can I stop those pawns? So it is, yes, you have some general principles about activating your pieces, but you also have to just calculate and move by move try to work out the variations.
fair enough. Yeah, I understand.
Okay, overall, very good game, and yeah, a useful lesson in the end game.
Thank you, Rick.
Anything else on this game?
No, thank you.
Okay.